It was the day after our first Thanksgiving as husband and wife. I woke up excited because this was the day we were going to continue my family's tradition of getting our Christmas tree. Now with my new husband. Come on, honey, it's time. Let's go get our tree. My husband, Richard, looked at me like I was speaking ancient Sanskrit. What tree? Oh, you want to get a ficus for inside of our apartment? No, silly. We're going to get our Christmas tree. What do you mean, Christmas tree? We're Jewish. And that was the beginning of a simmering disagreement that lasted about 18 years. We got engaged December of 1986 and decided to engage in the process of being engaged. We talked about everything you could possibly imagine, everything except the Christmas tree. So now I was confused. Richard, didn't you see the big Christmas tree in front of the fireplace at my mom's? You know, the one with all the lights and vintage ornaments? My family always had a tree. How did you celebrate Christmas? By celebrating Hanukkah. Well, we did Hanukkah too, right in front of the Christmas tree. What were you thinking? I thought it was your mother's tree, not yours. Well, then why didn't you bring up the Christmas tree issue while we were engaging in our engagement? And then he says, for the same reason I didn't bring up where I thought we should live when we moved to Mars. Richard, the Christmas tree is my family tradition. But it isn't my family tradition. You are a Christmas tree hater. No, he said, I love Christmas trees. I just like to visit them at other people's homes. You never had a Christmas tree? No, I guess it's an East Coast thing. No Jews I knew ever had a Christmas tree, he tells me. Well, maybe it's an LA thing because lots of my Jewish friends had Christmas trees. I want my tradition this year and I want it now. Let's just say we're playing tag and I'm it. He looked at me and said, so next year, no tree? Wait, what did I just do? I felt like I had negotiated a divorce settlement. I had custody of the tree every other year. Then he joyfully reminded me that we were going on our belated honeymoon in Jamaica for most of December, and then made the case that it just didn't make sense to get a tree that would slowly die of thirst all alone. I wasn't happy, but I reluctantly agreed. Then he said, so no tree this year. You know, it's your year. And then next year it's my year, which means no tree. Oh, no, wait a minute, no fair. He said, we'll talk about it later. The next time he mentioned it, it was the following week when we walked into the lobby of our hotel in Jamaica. Rahla, would you look at that? A 30-foot Christmas tree just for you. Would you look at those lights and decorations? Look how powerful you are. You got your tree after all. Doesn't count. Year 2. Yay. Tree. Richard, constant puss face, because my mom had given me all the Christmas ornaments, decorations, and lights, including the Jewish star tree topper that I had grown up with. Richard didn't appreciate the joy of the tree trimming ritual, burying the lights deep inside the branches, placing the fragile, colorful glass ornaments just so, the flick of the wrist tinsel toss, and the finale, turning on the Christmas lights. Now, my lights were special. They were very unique. Push a button, and they blinked on and off rhythmically to the tinkling tunes of Christmas classics, Jingle Bells, Silent Night, White Christmas, written by a Jew, The First Noel, and O Come All Ye Faithful. Richard's puss face was not going to dampen my Christmas tradition. Enough. Don't make me use the "my dad died on Christmas Eve" card, because I will. Could you just be happy for me? Don't fuck with my ritual of remembering when my dad was alive and life was good. And that he died on Christmas Eve. I'm going to say it again, Richard. My father died on Christmas Eve. And so Christmas and the tree and all this stuff may not make any sense to you, but it's important to me. Oh, by the way, did I tell you my father died on Christmas Eve? Could you put a smile on your face just for the hell of it? In the spring, after that third Christmas where Richard got to not have my tree, I found out I was preggers. So I used my pregnancy to get my tree for the next 3 years. You're probably thinking, but she was only pregnant for 9 months. Aha! That's how good a negotiator I was. If I got 3 years, I could just keep wearing him down and get more. But every fall, after Halloween and before Thanksgiving, the tree issue would start in again. And raising a Jewish child with a bar mitzvah coming up in only 9 years was more fuel for Richard's fire. Finally, Richard declared that we needed third-party facilitation. You mean like a mediator? Not like a mediator. A mediator. And when he chose a young, hip rabbi from the off-the-grid synagogue we were attending, I thought the sitch could be skewed and not in my favor. So before I agreed, I polled all our friends, family, strangers standing in line at Trader Joe's to find the perfect rationale to keep my Christmas tree. Oh, tell him it's a pagan symbol. Tell him it really has no religious significance. Oh, and tell him it's not that Christian-y. Oh, and say a lot of Jews have a tree and they call it a Hanukkah bush. Then Richard hit me with this one. If I have a Christmas tree in my house, I'll be betraying all the Jews who were tortured and murdered for being Jewish in the Spanish Inquisition, the Russian pogroms, and the Holocaust. Wow, that one may have been as good as the my father died on Christmas Eve defense. I guess we're going to the rabbi. Our meeting with him began as I expected. I explained in teary-eyed, snot-dripping detail how the Christmas tree was my only tether to a happier time of childhood. Before, well, you know. I'll just say it again. Rabbi, my father died on Christmas Eve. Richard talked Jewish identity, assimilation, and our son Chase being the last Rossner standing. The rabbi paused deeply in thought. Richard, do you love Rahla? How about making this the last Christmas for her, but pulling out all the stops? Do it her way. Really show up and put a smile on your face. She's giving up a tradition that is really important to her. If she agrees that this is her last Christmas, Richard, make it a doozy and one that she remembers. To be honest, I didn't like this idea at all, but we were at an impasse. I could see it was really starting to affect our marriage. The rabbi talked. Richard nodded. I fake smiled. That last Christmas was filled with cookies, caroling, and all the Christmassy traditions you could imagine. I took our son Chase to visit Santa Claus. When Santa asked him what he wanted for Christmas, Chase said, "I Jewish!" And that made Richard proud. Our Christmas tree was full and fat, with weighted branches bursting with every ornament, decoration, and light possible. We did our last tinsel flick. I pressed that button on the lights, and the music tinkled on the tree for the last time. You know what I mean. It tinkled. And I was happy. Next came 18 years of joyous, glitzy, over-the-top, everybody is welcome to our house Hanukkah parties. Then 5 years ago, I woke up the morning after our Thanksgiving vegetarian tofurkey feast and said, Richard, I want my tree back. And he said, okay. And then he drove me to every Christmas tree lot in town until I found my perfect tree. the one that would hold all my saved ornaments and lights, the one that smelled of moist, fresh pine, and the one that made me smile. Richard makes it easy to fall in love with him again and again each year as we schlep from tree lot to tree lot, finding just the right tree. And he untangles the lights that we promise we'll organize but never do, and he presses the button that lights the lights that plays the music. He even helps hang the decorations and says, honey, does this make you happy? I say yes. And he says, well, it's driving me fucking crazy and going out of my mind. We're Jewish. And then I say, thank you, honey. I love you. And he says, you're welcome, honey. I love you too. Sometimes traditions are born inside of rituals that become other traditions. But the best traditions of all are the ones born out of love. Thank you.